By the third day, something shifted. She asked herself a simple question. What do I actually want? And for the first time in years, she heard an answer that came from her, not from the crowd. She wanted less. Less noise. Less obligation. Less performance. She wanted a smaller life with more meaning. She wanted to disappoint people if it meant honoring herself. She wanted to be selfish in the way that preserves your soul. When Rachel returned to the city, she made changes. Small ones at first. She turned off notifications. She stopped answering emails after 6 p.m. She said no to events that drained her. She disappointed people. Some of them got angry. Some of them left. And Rachel discovered that their leaving created space for her arriving. She started asking herself questions before asking the internet. What do I think about this? Oh, do fail. What matters to me? She didn't always have immediate answers, but she waited for them. She trusted herself enough to wait. Here's what Rachel learned in that circle of stones. Here's what the monks in Japan know. Peace isn't found by silencing the world. It's found by amplifying yourself. The crowd will always be loud. Life will always be chaotic. People will always have opinions about how you should live. But none of that matters if you know your own voice so well that you can hear it through the storm. Stop trying to control the noise around you. You can't. Start strengthening the signal within you. That's where your power lives. Not in making everyone else quiet, but in making yourself loud enough to hear. Your truth doesn't need silence to exist. It needs your attention. Your wisdom doesn't need perfect conditions to speak. It needs your trust. Your peace doesn't need the world to cooperate. It needs you to remember that you are not the chaos. You are the center. The still point around which everything else spins. So let them talk. Let them demand. Let them have opinions. Let the world be as loud as it wants to be. And you go deeper. You listen harder. You trust yourself more. Because the crowd can only drown you if you've forgotten how to swim in your own waters. Find your voice. Honor it. Follow it, even when it whispers. Especially when it whispers. That whisper is your navigation system. That quiet knowing is your compass. That inner voice is the only guide you'll ever need. Stop asking the crowd for directions to your own life. You already know the way. You just have to get quiet enough to hear yourself say it. There is a monastery in the mountains of Japan where monks practice a meditation called the Eye of the Storm. They sit in the center of noise, chaos, screaming wind, and they find silence. Not by blocking it out, but by going so deep inside themselves that the storm becomes irrelevant. This is the story of a woman who found that silence in the loudest moment of her life. Her name was Rachel. Rachel was 32 years old, and her life was loud. Not in a good way. Not in an exciting way. Loud in the way that makes your head throb and your soul tired. Her phone buzzed every 30 seconds with notifications she didn't care about. Her inbox overflowed with emails demanding immediate responses. Her apartment walls were thin enough to hear neighbors arguing at 2 in the morning. Her boss needed constant updates. Her mother called 3 times a day, asking when she'd get married. Her friends expected her at every gathering, every party, every event. The world was screaming at her. And Rachel had forgotten how to hear her own voice underneath all that noise. She couldn't remember the last time she sat in silence. Real silencio, the kind where you can hear yourself think. The kind where you remember who you are when nobody's telling you who to be. The panic attack came on a Wednesday afternoon. Rachel was in a meeting, surrounded by 12 people all talking at once. When suddenly she couldn't breathe, the voices became static. The fluorescent lights became knives. Her chest tightened like someone was wrapping chains around her ribs. She excused herself, stumbled to the bathroom, locked herself in a stall, and pressed her hands against her ears, trying to make everything stop. But the noise was inside her now. 1,000 voices telling her what to do, who to be, what to want, how to live. And beneath all of them, buried so deep she almost couldn't hear it, was one small voice asking, "When did you stop listening to me?" That night, Rachel did something she hadn't done in years. She turned off her phone, not on silent off. She unplugged her laptop. She sat on her floor in the dark and waited for the silence to come. But it didn't. Because silence isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of peace, and Rachel had forgotten what peace felt like. She called her Aunt Maria the next morning, the only person in her family who seemed immune to the chaos everyone else drowned in. Maria lived alone in a small cabin 2 hours outside the city. New television. New internet, just books and trees and a dog named Quiet. "Can I come visit?" Rachel asked. Her voice sounded strange, small, like she hadn't used her real voice in years. "I was wondering when you'd ask," Maria said. "Come now." The cabin was exactly as Rachel remembered from childhood visits. Simple, clean. Still, the kind of still that feels like a living thing. Like peace has weight and texture and breath. Maria met her at the door with tea and no questions. They sat on the porch, and for the first time in months, Rachel heard birds. Actual birds, not car alarms pretending to be birds. Real ones. "You look exhausted," Maria said quietly. "I can't turn my brain off." Rachel admitted, "Everyone wants something from me. Everyone has an opinion about my life. I do want to even know what I think anymore, because I am too busy listening to what everyone else thinks I should think." Maria nodded. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Come with me." She led Rachel into the woods behind the cabin. They walked in silence for 20 minutes until they reached a small clearing. In the center was a circle of stones. "Sit," Maria said, gesturing to the center, "and don't speak." Rachel sat. Maria walked to the edge of the clearing and began making noise. She banged pots together. She played loud music from a speaker. She shouted random words. She created chaos. Rachel's instinct was to cover her ears, to run, to make it stop. But Maria had said not to speak, so Rachel sat in the noise and tried not to scream. After 10 minutes, Maria stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. "What did you hear?" Maria asked. "Everything," Rachel said. "The pots, the music, your voice." It was overwhelming. "Try again," Maria said, and she started the noise again. This time, Rachel tried something different. Instead of fighting the noise, she let it exist. She didn't try to block it out. She just stopped giving it all her attention. She focused on her breath, on the feeling of ground beneath her, on the rhythm of her own heartbeat. And slowly, impossibly, the noise became background. It was still there, but it wasn't everything anymore. When Maria stopped the second time, Rachel was crying. "What did you hear?" Maria asked again. "Myself," Rachel whispered. "I heard myself underneath everything else." Maria sat beside her. "The world will always be loud, Rachel. People will always have opinions. Demands will always come. But you cannot silence the crowd. You can only stop letting the crowd silence you." She picked up one of the stones from the circle. This is what most people do. They try to build walls. They try to block out the noise. They cut people off. They run away. They hide, and it works for a while. But the noise always finds a way in, because the problem isn't the volume of the world. It's the volume of your own voice. Your voice is quiet, Maria continued, not because it's weak, but because you've trained yourself not to listen to it. You've turned up everyone else's volume and turned down your own. So now, even in silence, you can't hear yourself, because you've forgotten what you sound like. Rachel felt the truth of this in her bones. She had spent so many years asking other people what they thought, what she should do, who she should be, that she'd lost the ability to consult herself. Her own wisdom had atrophied from lack of use. "How do I get it back?" Rachel asked. "You practice," Maria said simply. "Every day, you sit with yourself, not to meditate, not to empty your mind, but to listen, to ask yourself questions and wait for your own answers. What tu primera, hua, en, ti? What tu primera, need? What feels true, and you trust what you hear, even when it contradicts what everyone else says." Rachel stayed at the cabin for 3 days. Every morning, she sat in the circle of stones and practiced listening to herself. The first day was hard. Her mind was full of other people's voices. Her mother's expectations, her boss's demands, society's standards.